This video will explore poets' use of auditory imagery in the anthology. The poetry anthology question will be on Literature Paper 2, Section B. You should spend around 5 minutes planning and 30 minutes writing. This is the mark scheme for the top band on this question. Perceptive means noticing things and making points which aren't just the obvious things that everybody else is going to say. Cohesive evaluation means that you need to show an awareness of the anthology poems as a whole rather than just as individual poems. The subject terminology you use, such as metaphor or pathetic fallacy, needs to be relevant, it needs to be embedded into your argument, and it needs to be accurate. Convincing means that you've got to persuade the examiner to agree that your interpretation is valid. You will never be asked to analyse a poem by itself, you'll always have to make links between two poems, so it's really important to find links. This video is going to focus on poets' use of imagery related to water. Hopefully we'll find something perceptive and original here. Sound is incredibly important in our day-to-day lives and is evocative of a range of emotions and ideas. Sound or auditory imagery makes use of the reader's senses and helps us to immerse ourselves into the world of the poem. Human emotion is strongly linked to sound. We can often pick up on somebody's mood by listening to their tone of voice. Sounds that we make, such as crying, screaming and laughter, are ways that we express our emotions. Sound is a huge part of how we express ourselves and celebrate. Think of music, fireworks, clapping, dancing, all of these things. One of the most powerful uses of sound in the anthology is the various sounds of war, whether this be sound on the battlefield or human emotion. You could begin an argument, both writers use sound to reflect human misery, or both writers depict fear in silence. Let's have a look at some of the auditory imagery in The Destruction of Sennacherib by Lord Byron. For the angel of death spread his wings on the blast. The blasting sound in this line is the power of God being unleashed on the Assyrian army. This is an image of the angel of death itself flying over the army, bringing destruction, and the sound of the blast of the angel's wings is indicative of its power. The angel is a manifestation of the power of God, and therefore the sound of the blast relates to God's power. The lances unlifted, the trumpet unblown. This line shows the utter devastation of the Assyrian army. The trumpet would have been blown as the soldiers reached the walls of Sennacherib. But now that all the soldiers are dead, there is no one left to play music. The field is completely silent. The trumpet is a brass instrument with a loud, clear sound, and for this reason it's historically been used on the battlefield to send signals. The trumpet is also often played at remembrance events to commemorate those whose lives have been lost in war. The trumpet is synonymous with armies in battle. By saying the trumpet is unblown, Byron shows that the Assyrians have lost their power. And the widows of Asher are loud in their wail. Asher is the capital city of Assyria, which is where this army are from. The widows of Asher are the wives of the men who have died on the battlefield. Firstly, Byron says that the widows are loud in their wail. This is a direct contrast to the silence of the previous stanza and the unblown trumpet. Secondly, the word wail describes a heart-wrenching scream. These women are devastated by the loss of their husbands. The extract from the Prelude by William Wordsworth. Nor without the voice of mountain echoes did my boat move on. Here, Wordsworth describes the moment that he stole the boat, saying that the boat moved, but the mountain's voice was echoing behind it as he went. This is personification, suggesting that the mountain itself has a voice to speak with. The echoey voice of the mountain seems almost to be disapproving. Perhaps the mountain feels that he should not have stolen the boat in the first place. This voice is the first hint we get as a reader that the situation is perhaps darker and more worrying than we originally thought. Giving the mountain a voice also confers power on it. This links to the pantheistic idea that God is in nature. Can we hear the voice of God through the mountain? Wordsworth also describes the silent lake and the silent water. In the second half of the poem he says, "And through the silent water stole my way." At the start of the poem, the silent lake seemed like a beautiful, peaceful, calm place to be. But at this point in the poem, the young Wordsworth is scared and alone, and the silence is chilling. Cousin Kate by Christina Rossetti. Even so I sit and howl in dust. In this line, the speaker describes the pain and agony she feels at being cast aside. The word howl is evocative of a wild animal such as a wolf. The pain she feels is extreme. This howl can be linked to the wail of the widows in the destruction of Sennacherib. Both are sounds which depict extreme suffering. Half-Caste by John Agard. You mean Tchaikovsky sit down at a piano and mix a black key with a white key as a half-caste symphony. Here Agard describes a classical composer mixing tones in music, showing that mixing things is a beautiful thing. By choosing Tchaikovsky as an example, Agard evokes the grandeur and beauty of Tchaikovsky's music. Exposure by Wilfred Owen. Owen repeatedly describes silence in this poem. The night is silent. Worried by silence, sentries whisper. Flights of bullets streak the silence. In this poem, Owen complains about the way soldiers' lives are wasted while nothing is happening. Silence indicates that soldiers are sitting around with nothing to do. The silence also indicates fear and tension. The soldiers are sitting quietly, waiting for sounds or clues of the enemy. The silence in this poem is sinister and can be linked to the silent water in Wordsworth's poem. The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. In this poem, Tennyson vividly describes a noisy and chaotic battle scene. When he says the cannon volleyed and thundered, he suggests that being in this battle is like being in the middle of a thunderstorm. By evoking the powerful sounds of the natural world, Tennyson shows how dangerous battle is. Catherine by Gillian Clark. We want, we shouted, to be two, to be ourselves. Shouting is the result of the frustration and anger felt by the two women in this poem. Just like the howl in Cousin Kate and the wail of the widows in the destruction of Sennacherib, the shouting evokes extreme human emotion. War Photographer by Carol Satyamurthy. In this poem, Satyamurthy contrasts two very different sounds made by human beings. The writer describes the champagne giggles of two girls who are enjoying themselves in the sun. In a dramatic change of tone, the writer later describes a young girl whose mouth is too small for her dark scream. This line suggests that this child is too physically small to contain the weight of grief and sadness that is upon her. This highlights the real tragedy in this poem, which describes a young girl having to make the decision to drop a baby and run to save herself. The dark scream is a heart-wrenching and haunting use of sound, which the reader will not forget. Poppies by Jane Weir. After you'd gone, I went into your bedroom, released a songbird from its cage. Until this point in the poem, the speaker has stayed quiet and strong for her son who is leaving to go to war. After her son has left, the speaker finally feels able to cry. The songbird means that her voice has been released. By describing crying and singing, the writer shows two different sounds visuals which express very different emotions. Jane Weir is perhaps saying that the speaker feels happy and proud of her son for fulfilling his dreams, but also sad at losing him. The image of releasing a bird from its cage is also echoing the fact that she's let her son go. Birds being released from cages symbolises freedom. At the end of the poem, Weir uses this bird imagery again, describing her son's spirit as a dove pulling freely against the sky. She says she is hoping to hear your playground voice catching on the wind, which suggests that she believes that her son's voice is in the air. Because of the way the wind can sometimes create different sounds, it is often described as sounding like the human voice. This line suggests that the speaker feels that her son might be all around her, as though after death his spirit is with her in nature. What Were They Like? By Denise Levertov. This is a poem of extreme contrasts. This question, were they inclined to quiet laughter, is given a harsh response. Sir, laughter is bitter to the burned mouth. Laughter is a sound which truly evokes human joy and happiness. Laughter is a sound which truly evokes human joy and happiness. When a sound has stopped, it ceases to exist. So by asking this question, Levertov shows us that the sound of the laughter of the Vietnamese people could never be recreated. Levertov juxtaposes the joyous image of laughter with the horrific picture of a burned mouth. There is an echo yet of their speech which was like a song. It was reported that their singing resembled the flight of moths in moonlight. Who can say? It is silent now. This is an incredibly beautiful but also unusual description of sound. By describing the sound of singing as like flights of moths in moonlight, Levertov suggests that this is something which is magical and can't be captured. It is as though the sound of their singing is flying away from us and we will never be able to claim it. The poem ends with silence. Just like Wilfred Owen, Levertov links silence and death together. In the anthology, writers use sound to depict the whole range of human emotions and experiences, from happiness to grief, from danger to death. Let's have a look at the kind of paragraph you could write about sound. Both Satyamurti and Rossetti depict devastation through characters who scream in pain. The child in War Photographer has a mouth too small for her dark scream, implying that the sheer size of her terror is too much for her. Dark Scream is a harrowing one, which encapsulates the horrific decision she has made to abandon a baby. This child is in an impossible position in a cruel world, and the reader would be heavily affected by this poignant image. Similarly, the speaker in Cousin Kate feels desolation and despair at the hands of a cruel, uncaring society. She sits and howls in dust because she has been forsaken. This woman would have been shunned by her society because she had a child out of wedlock. So this howl expresses the pain of her unjust treatment and anger. Both writers create images of extreme agony using the sound of human crying. For your next steps, think, what other sensory imagery can you find in the anthology? Can you find auditory imagery in your other texts like Jekyll and Hyde or Macbeth? Don't forget to tweet us at Appleton English if you have any questions. The English department are here to help. Also, go to the website for more resources.